Ahmed Mohamed Shafik Zaki is an Egyptian politician and a former candidate for the presidency of Egypt. He was a senior commander in the Egyptian Air Force and later served as Prime Minister of Egypt from the 29th of January 2011 to the 3rd of March 2011. After a career as a fighter pilot and squadron, wing and group commander, Shafik was the commander of the Egyptian Air Force from 1996 to 2002, reaching the rank of Air Marshal. Thereafter, he served in the government as Minister of Civil Aviation from 2002 to 2011. He was appointed as Prime Minister by President Hosni Mubarak on the 29th of January 2011 in response to the 2011 Egyptian Revolution, making him the last Prime Minister to serve as part of Mubarak's administration. He remained in office for only 1 month, resigning on the 3rd of March 2011. One day after a contentious talk show confrontation in which Alaa al-Aswani, a prominent Egyptian novelist, accused him of being a Mubarak regime holdover. He narrowly lost out in the 2012 Egyptian presidential elections to Mohamed Morsi, the candidate of the Freedom and Justice Party, gaining 48.27% of the vote compared to Morsi's 51.73%. In September 2012, Morsi's government issued an arrest warrant for Shafik. He was acquitted in one case. His name is still on airport watch lists as another investigation is ongoing. Early life and education. Shafik was born in the Heliopolis district of Cairo on the 25th of November 1941. His parents were prominent members of Egyptian society, with his father, Ahmed Shafik Zaki, serving as Undersecretary at the Ministry of Irrigation and his mother, Nayar Alwi, being the daughter of a noted ophthalmologist. After completing his schooling at the Heliopolis Secondary School, he attended the Egyptian Air Academy from where he graduated in 1962 at the age of 21 and became a member of the Egyptian Air Force. Later in his career, he gained a master's degree in military science, a fellowship of High War College from NASA Military Academy, a fellowship of Combined Arms from the High War College in Paris, a fellowship of the National Defense College from NASA Military Academy, and a Ph.D. in the National Strategy of Outer Space. Air Marshal Ahmed Shafik received the highest medals and merits during his service. Military career. As a young officer, Shafik served as a MiG-19 and MiG-21 fighter pilot and was later appointed as Fighter Air Squadron Commander. During the War of Attrition, Shafik saw active service as the multitask Air Wing Commander. Subsequently he took up a post as an Air Base Commander. During the 1973 October War, Shafik was a senior fighter pilot under Hosni Mubarak's command. Shafik shot down 2 Israeli aircraft during the war on the 14th of October 1973. During his 40 years of service in the Egyptian Air Force as a fighter pilot, he flew several types of fighter jets including the Miko Yangurovich MiG-17, Miko Yangurovich MiG-19, Miko Yangurovich MiG-21 and the Dassault Mirage 2000. He also acted as the wing commander for the Egyptian Air Force acrobatic team. He is also fully qualified on the American-built-in McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II and the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon. In 1984, Shafik was appointed military attaché in the Egyptian embassy in Rome. He continued in this role until 1986. In 1986, he was promoted to Air Commodore and became commander of a Group and MiG-21 air base. During the CSF conscription riot of 1986, President Mubarak wanted the armed forces to crush the revolt. He relied on the Air Force to intimidate and bomb some CSF rebels in Cairo and in Upper Egypt. The commander who was tasked with the actual execution of the operation was Brigadier Air Commodore Ahmed Shafik. As Deputy Chief of Operations for the Central Air Region, from 1988 to 1991, Shafik served several military senior command positions before he was appointed as the commander of the Air Operations Department. In September 1991, Shafik was appointed as the Air Force's Chief of Staff, holding this position until April 1996, when he became commander of the Egyptian Air Force. In 2002 he resigned from military service and was succeeded by his Chief of Staff Air Marshal Magdi Al-Sharawi. Political career. After retiring from the Air Force, Shafik became the Minister of Civil Aviation on the 18th of September 2002, not long after the ministry's formation. Whilst he was the Minister for Civil Aviation, he oversaw improvements in Egypt.He and helped construct a new third terminal at Cairo International Airport, which was completed in 2008 and opened for commercial operations on the 27th of April 2009. He continued the position until succeeding Ahmed Shafik as the Prime Minister of Egypt on the 29th of January 2011. During the course of the Egyptian Revolution of 2011, Shafik was named Prime Minister by then-President Hosni Mubarak on the 29th of January 2011. Shafik's period in office as Prime Minister was short-lived, lasting just over a month after he resigned on the 3rd of March due to pressure from protesters and the opposition. They had objected to Shafik staying on as PM, having been seen as one of Mubarak's old guard. Shafik was alleged to have been a member of the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces that took over power after Mubarak's departure on the 11th of February 2011. Shafik was succeeded by Assam Sharaf after he stepped down. Shafik resigned from office one day after a contentious interview on the Egyptian ONTV satellite network in which he was confronted by Lara al-Aswani, author of the Yaqubian Building, Henri Majid's talk show Balad Nabel Masri. Al-Aswani was highly critical of Shafik during the broadcast, representing one of the first televised public criticisms of a high-ranking government official in Egyptian history. At one point, Al-Aswani said about Shafik, "If your son had been one of those who got run over by the police cars, you would not have remained silent like that." Al-Aswani furthermore accused Shafik of being a holdover of the regime that Egyptians had struggled to topple, and that he was unfit to represent Egyptians in the post-revolution era. On the 10th of July, Shafik made his first public appearance since resigning as Prime Minister. He attended the graduation ceremony of the Egyptian Air Force Academy class along with the Chief of Staff of the Egyptian Armed Forces. In November 2011, Shafik announced his candidacy in the Egyptian presidential elections. Shafik's candidacy sparked controversy and protest within Egypt, with many considering him to be a holdover of the Mubarak regime. Shafik's remark that he considers former President Hosni Mubarak to be a role model was particularly controversial. At one campaign event, a protester hurled shoes at him, although Shafik was not struck. Shafik's candidacy was noted as supported by many in Egypt's Coptic Christian minority who are opposed to Islamist candidates in the election, along with the Muslim Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party candidate Mohammed Morsi. Shafik was one of two candidates who survived the first round of voting on 23-24 May, coming in behind Morsi. The second and final round of voting was held on 16-17 June 2012. Allegations have arisen that the Interior Ministry handed out over 900,000 ID cards to Egyptian soldiers so that they could vote for Shafik, which would be a major campaign violation. Fellow presidential candidate Hamdeen Sabahi, who finished in third place in the first round of voting, asked for the Egyptian election to be temporarily suspended until an investigation could be carried out. On the 28th of May 2012, protesters angry at Shafik's advancement to the second round of voting set fire to an office associated with his campaign in Cairo. Fellow candidate Khalid Ali said while participating in a protest against the election results in Tahrir Square that Tahrir had toppled Mubarak and would topple Shafik. The election contest between Shafik and Morsi had been described as a choice between two of Egypt's most polarizing politicians, and some activists resorted to participation in a hunger strike to protest his candidacy. Shafik's presidential campaign was characterized by an emphasis on public order and security, and although the ruling Supreme Council of the Armed Forces did not endorse a candidate, American news outlet McClatchy newspapers pointed to the conspicuous presence of sympathetic security forces at his campaign stops as evidence of his close relationship with the military. Shafik used his campaign events to court Egyptian elites and voters wary of an Islamist-led government. He reportedly suggested that he would employ executions and brutal force to restore order in the country within a month of taking office. Although preliminary election results indicated that the Muslim Brotherhood's candidate Mohamed Morsi won the second round of elections by a slight margin, the results remained within the margin of error and the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces, with Shafik claiming victory in the election. On the 24th of June, the High Presidential Electoral Commission, headed by Farouk Sultan, announced Shafik's narrow defeat by his bitter rival Morsi, with 48.27% of the vote for the former, compared to Morsi's 51.73%. In the hours following his defeat, it was widely reported that Shafik and his family flew out to Abu Dhabi, wary of potential charges of financial irregularities and electoral fraud, a move he later confirmed on Sky News. Shafik alleged that the election was flawed. Public prosecutor Abdul Megid Mahmoud has called for an investigation into the claims. In August 2013, former Israeli negotiator Yossi Beilin stated that an Egyptian official had told him that the true results of the election were in favor of Shafik, but the military gave the presidency to Morsi out of fear of unrest. Launch of new political party. Ahmed Shafik announced that he would launch a new political party, called the Egyptian Patriotic Movement, on the 24th of September 2012.